So I've actually I've watched a lot of videos. Some guys are using black stain and different types of stains that different guitar companies will actually sell in order to be able to ebonize your fretboard. You can ebonize your fretboard on an existing guitar. You just got to remove all the oils and stuff from it. They do that with thinners or lighter fluid or different things like that. And then you take like a black wood stain and wipe it down. The problem with black wood stains that I've seen on some of these videos is the wood stain will have a tendency to stick to the metal and also stick to the inserts here. Now, once I get through with everything, I'm going to go back and really polish these frets up anyway, so I'm not worried about it getting on the metal frets. But all these videos that I'm showing is you can either mask it off, which you're going to end up with an edge around it that I don't want to feel, and then or you got to scrape it off with a razor blade, and again you're probably going to end up with an edge, and I don't want to scratch my inlays. So I found a guy that was doing it with calligraphy ink, right? So Japanese, Chinese writing, they do the calligraphy writing. And you can order the ink. It's not very much. I think I paid $12 for this, and it's like twice the size of the one he was using. But I figured I'd keep it for future builds as well. But this is calligraphy ink. And calligraphy ink will not stick or stain the metal or the inserts. It will actually separate from that. So when I wipe the excess off, I'll be wiping it off of that as well. So I won't have any kind of additional scraping to do on my inserts. So I like that better, and I really loved the results he got. It was a deep ebony fretboard. Now, I didn't want to do that before I did the paint job because I need to mask this off, and I want to ensure that everything sticks to this. I want to make sure that all the tape sticks and doesn't come up during the spraying, because I don't want any lacquer to get on my fretboard. So I decided to do it after the fact. So do I spray it with the sealer? Now this just says, the instructions was kind of confusing because it says the entire body and neck. It doesn't say and neck and fingerboard or fretboard, but it states in here that you don't mask it off until after you spray the sealer on. Then it says mask it off and start spraying for your lacquer coats. So that would insinuate that you're doing the fingerboard as well. And then the videos that I've seen of sealing on Stewmac and the different stuff that I've read has all showed them spraying it with sealer. So we're going to see. My ink may not take in my fretboard now, but we're going to find out. I won't do that until after I paint the entire body. So yeah, you're going to find that out with me. So I went ahead and sprayed it. It says 1 to 3 coats. So, hey, I'm going to use it right away the way it is. It does say in tons of videos and even in the book to heat your lacquer up before you spray it, because your lacquer is going to spray better while it's warm. So it says take hot water, put it in a bucket. Put your can inside of the hot water, let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes to warm the lacquer up. Also make sure that it's warm inside your building. I think it says anywhere between 60 to 90 degrees. It was 75 degrees outside yesterday. I didn't have the AC on in the building, and I had just the big roll-up door open here. So the inside and outside temperature was 75 degrees. The can was 75 degrees, stored in the same place. So what I did, it never said warm the vinyl sealer up. They always say warm the lacquer up. They said nothing about the vinyl sealer. So I was questioning that, but I figured I'd try it. I had 3 coats to go. So the very first coat I put on, I noticed the inconsistency of the vinyl sealer through the spray head. Now the spray head is adjustable. It's got this thing here which you can kind of move it back and forth. If your white tip here is side to side, that means that it's going to come out upright like this, right? Your fan. If it is up and down, your tip, then your spray pattern will be sideways this way. So you want to keep that in mind while you're spraying. If your spray pattern is side to side, you want your spray pattern this way, not sideways, because you're just really overspraying one line that way rather than fanning and putting a nice even layer down. If your spray pattern is up and down that you feel more comfortable with, then you need to make sure your spray pattern is flat, not upright. But I noticed the sound of it as I was spraying it. I got a nice even misty sound coming out. And then I would let off and then hit it again, and I would get a spitting, sputtering sound. And what that's doing is it's causing spitting and sputtering out of the nozzle and causing it to spatter onto the body. You should always, when you spray, start off the body, come across, and let up again, because that's usually where your spitting happens, is when you push the button down and when you let up. So you start off the body, drag it across. Once you get off the body again, you release, right? And you do that. That's how you do your patterns. But it didn't matter when it was spitting and sputtering. It actually continued that through the whole pass. I wasn't too worried about it. It wasn't doing enough to where I was getting big clumps to cause runs. But I knew it was going to cause a rough finish. Wasn't too worried about that, because they said it doesn't say it in the book here, but it does say to sand it down in between each coat on the vinyl sealer, but not to grind into it and take it away, just to smooth it out. It also says to use it with 320. I thought that was way too abrasive, so I again used 600 grit. Again, I doubled it over twice, but I grabbed it by the seam side here and left the open side this way, and then I would just set it down on the guitar and push into it and rub that across the top of the guitar this way, just with a little bit of pressure. I'm not putting my hand down on it. I'm just letting the pressure of the fold of the bend of the paper to go in here and do it. So it just takes off that edge, that top grainy feel, while not blowing completely through the layer. And it worked great. Worked great on the sides, the top, the back, everything. Of course, I have to lay my whole hand around it on the neck, but that worked out good. I just watched the pressure, made sure I didn't go through it. The second coat, I let it set for 2 hours. It said let it set for 1 to 2 hours. I let it go for the full 2 hours. The second coat, I did the same exact thing. Again, I got the spitting and sputtering. I made sure that I cleaned my nozzle after the first coat. I cleaned it again before I started my second coat. Still got the spitting and sputtering. Still had the semi-rough surface. So the third coat, I decided to try warming it, like they recommend for the lacquer. I ran as hot of water as I can get into a bucket of water, and then set this down, and the entire thing down inside of it, or at least a high enough level to where it didn't float. And let it sit there for 10 minutes. When I took the can out, it was really warm. Shook the can for about a minute and a half. Made sure everything was nice and mixed up. And man, that thing just sprayed gorgeous across there. No spitting, no sputtering, nice good fine mist all the way across. And then when I was done with it, other than what the sanding that you just seen me doing, I have not sanded this surface at all since then. I'm going to, before I add my lacquer finish. But man, this thing is super, super smooth. My head is smooth. Everything's nice and smooth. My fretboard's smooth. So I highly recommend heating your vinyl sealer in warm water for about 5 to 10 minutes in as hot of water as you can put in a bucket, before you spray it on all of it. Not just your lacquer, but your vinyl sealer as well. That worked out really great. So I sprayed everything. Of course, my fretboard is darker than what it was before because it's got that sealer on there. We're going to find that out. And I've got everything sprayed. You do have to watch out for runs with the vinyl sealer, and go down super, super thin with it, because it will run. I didn't have any runs in mine. I'm used to spraying. I spray a Cerakote ceramic coating. I'm used to spraying that on a daily basis. I usually use my spray guns for that, but it has a high chance of running, so I'm used to those chances, especially in the corners and tips, around these edges here, around the holes. So I'm already kind of leery of that, but I can tell by spraying this that it will run really easily. So I didn't have any issues with that. You got to pay attention to the bottoms here to make sure you're getting a nice even coat there without overspraying. You got to watch it because you're doing the front, you're doing the back, you're doing the sides, and the bottom. So you're going to get a little bit there when you do the front and back. So don't go over the bottom thinking it has none on it, right? That's when you're going to get overspray and it's going to start dripping and running down here. And now you got to sand all that back out of it again. And that stuff does actually dry pretty hard. When you sand it down, it'll give you a white film, so you can see the white inside of the sandpaper. This is the piece that I used for the last sanding that I did. I did use air to blow it off like I normally do when I was done with it, but of course you should always wipe it down after that. I did not wipe it down with any kind of chemical or anything. They talk about different things. You can wipe it down chemical wise between each sanding and the sanding of the wood, between each layer, all that crazy stuff. This time I just, in between each coat, I just used a dry white tissue or the napkin and wiped everything down really, really thorough, and let the fibers of this pull everything off. And it definitely leaves that residue on there. So it is pulling things off. It does leave a residue when you sand. So don't just sand and go back to painting. You're going to get all that stuff mixed in with that next coat, and it's just going to compound after that. Unless you sand it completely down again, which after all the work that we've done, we don't want to do it again. So yeah, that worked out great. And everything is sealed. The next video I'm going to do is on the fretboard. I actually prepped the fretboard and did all the fretboard work before I sprayed it, but I wanted to talk about spraying first. And then the next step from there is masking the fretboard off and all the trim around the fretboard, and then going to the lacquer paint. So cool. Appreciate you guys. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video in Chaos Garage. Hit like, share, and subscribe if you guys liked it. And as always, please be kind in the comments. Until next time.